Hello future toppers, welcome to Civilsdaily session on 100 most probable topics for UPSC Prelims 2022. My name is Santosh Gupta and let me briefly introduce myself. I am Prelims Coordinator at Civilsdaily. I conduct Super 25 program for UPSC Prelims and last year itself out of 25, 16 students qualified Prelims. And one practice out of many good practices that we adopt is to give students those areas and topics where they need to revise more and focus more because more questions are coming in UPSC prelim from those topics. So this is an attempt to bring those topics, those areas to all of you. And before we proceed, there is a Google form given in the description at the top. You can fill it and get the summary of all the topics, all the 100 topics that we have covered here in very short form in around 30 pages. So please go ahead and just fill the form and you will immediately get that PDF. Now, areas that we are going to cover: polity, IR, economy, security, environment, social issues, science tech, history and culture, geography, mapping and government scheme. And let me again state, these are not the guess topics because nobody of course can guess the questions or topic that will be coming to in UPSC. But there are areas where repeated questions are coming and there is no harm in focusing in the last let's say 15 days in those topics to get the maximum output. So we'll start from the polity, and if you see the polity previous year's questions, if you find there are 4 areas where lots of questions, most of the questions are coming: polity, fundamental, basics aspect, liberalism, constitutionalism, 2-3 questions every year. I have covered these topics in detail in Super 25, which I will share with you. Then polity and constitutional aspect, most of the questions come from 8 to 10 questions. They are very basics from the Lakshmikant itself. Then current affair, constitutional amendment, laws and some common legal aptitude type questions, 3-4 questions. Then governance 1 and 2 questions in recent year that they have been started asking. So before let's start this. So polity fundamental concept that I have mentioned, like those definition questions where you need to understand whatever this is given, not you had not like you are what you think it is correct. So you have to revise them. Then historical background, every year, last year itself you see 1935 question from question came. Then preamble and fundamental rights including DPSP. So 3-4 questions every year you can find there. So that you must cover. Then office of governor and discretionary power, of course questions are coming. Center state relation, all these 3 kinds. Now financial relations are under stress usually, so that you need to cover. Then emergency provisions, every year you can see there will all 3 kinds of emergency. One question from it at least will be coming. Supreme Court, they are remain in lot in news. So their powers, their writ jurisdictions and all these things. Statutory bodies, like there have been recent changes in RTR and NHRC. So what are the recent changes and implications, they may be asked. Then some recent bills and amendment that has come in certain bills that you should be covering. Then one election, one nation, that is the dream of our Prime Minister. So that becomes important, and amendments which will be required. Then EVM, repeated questions are coming, model code of. So in a sense related to election commission, voting, model code of conduct, EVM and their reforms, because that has remain in lots of news. So every year you can expect a question that we have covered in these topics, and it will be shared with you when you register in the link given in the Google form. So please go ahead, register that. Then Panchayat, all the functions on Panchayat and whatever the change. Then PESA Act, it is applicable to scheduled area. So what are their provisions, how they differ, digital sovereignty that has remained in the news, 7th schedule, the distribution of power. Then philosophical aspect of polity, of course that is related to first. Then important judgment, recent year sedition judgment is there. So many judgments are there that could be asked. Now coming to IR, Indo-China border dispute, that is one of the favorite topic of UPSC also and remains lots in the news. So what are the geographical features in the areas of dispute? One, we know that Pangong Tse Lake, Chushul area, many lakes and glaciers are there, many roads we are trying to bring, many passes are there. So that you should be remembering, that is covered well in the PDF that will be shared with you when you are going to register them. Then WHO, it has been in the lots of news in the last 2 years, its policies and actions and measures that they will take to contain the pandemic. Then Ukraine crisis, we know it is lots in news from last 2-3 months, and Russia and Ukraine, what are the geographical features are there in those areas, what are the rivers, what are the mountains, what are the industrial regions, why Russia is so much interested in Ukraine, what are the NATO role is there. Then Quad again has been become important, India, United States, Japan and Australia. So new formation is going on. Mains, there was a question in main also. So prelims you can expect also what are the commonalities, military exercise, India with Russia, India with USA, G20, keeps getting revised, these topics. So G20, what the action said, what are their resolution. So these things, NAM, it again is gaining relevance with Ukraine Russia war. So that thing is there. Then Indian import and export basket, that you should be remembering in economy also. What are the top 10 commodity that we export? What are the top 10 we import? We know wheat, our wheat has affected. Then now Indonesia has banned export of palm oil. So palm oil has exported, their price is rising. So top 10 import export basket and top 10 import and export countries including agricultural export and import. Then recent UNSC resolution, whether it's related to arms and terrorism or related to pandemic or related to Ukraine crisis. Then WTO, whether it has lost relevance and what are their current programs that is going on. So WTO is important. Then FATF, it is related to black money and terror funding. So Pakistan remains often in the news. What are 3 lists of FATF and how it impacts? Then Collective Security Treaty Organization, it is again has come into relevance, was set up in 2002. So Shanghai Corporation, these are alternatives to let's say NATO. Then CETO, CENTO, whatever these Western bloc. Then you have CSTO, Shanghai and Eurasian groups. They are like an alternative. So this becomes important in these times. Then CTBT, so all nuclear related treaties, they are evergreen questions and they can be asked again. So I again ask you to go and fill the form given in the description so that you get in the very brief all these issues being discussed, and so you can revise it earliest and you can do well in the actual exam. Now again, economy related. So we can say there are at least 5 areas where economy questions are repeated. And why economy is important, you can find every year more than 18 to 20 questions coming into UPSC prelims, and it makes very important along with polity, economy and environment. These 3 are the most important in UPSC prelims, and there you find around 60% of questions coming. So I classify in 5 areas based on the previous years and our experience with UPSC prelim. So sectors of economy and basics of economy. The basics, what are the GDP, GNP? Sometimes they ask what is the national income. Then sectors, what are the primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, quaternary, all these, and service, manufacturing and agriculture. So what are the trend, whether GDP are increasing or decreasing? In corona pandemic, you see the share of sectors changed. In agriculture we had positive growth, but in industry and services we had negative growth. So for a while share of agriculture increased. So that is the pattern. In recent years share of agriculture has been declining, but just for 1 or 2 years it increased. So that is the change you have to understand. Then second is some question will come on that. Then second is monetary policy, banking regulation, RBI. So all these 3 are linked. role of RBI is to frame and implement monetary policy. It has to be inconsistent with the fiscal policy, fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, and other things. So these are the keywords, and how RBI regulates its monetary. Recently it just increased the policy rate because amid high inflation, and it has to control the inflation. That banking ratio, we have seen repeated banking failure like PMC Bank, ILN, IFS crisis. So in this banking regulation, things are getting changed. Then these cooperative banks also have been brought under the purview of RBI. Then some NBFC have been brought into it. So you have to understand the nuances, and there will be I can guarantee 3-4 questions coming from directly RBI, inflation, monetary policy, and banking. Then external sector, I was just discussing in IR. What are the terms like CAD, BOP, and other things? Then what are the FII and FDR? Recent time the FIR withdrawing from India. Then what are the balance of payment issues, and what are the currency devaluation? So these things would definitely come. Then related to external sector, we have many external bodies. Their policy do impact us. Then Federal Reserve, IMF, World Bank, then Unicentral, and other related to economy. They will definitely impact our economy. So that is there. Then agriculture. So all the terms related to agriculture, subsidy given, some measures that has been taken, some technology that have been adopted, and then MSP and other relatives. MSP has been used. So then there will be some miscellaneous topics that will come from the current affairs. So let's see the question. Inflation. Of course, 2-3 last year itself there are 2 questions. Then conceptual question, fiscal policy, inflation monitor, that I have discussed. Then RBI banking relation, MCLR, repo rate, what are the rate, what are the banks which set charge now on the repo rate basis or either MCLR basis. Earlier it used to be base rate. Now domestic systematic important banks, so that are there. Similarly for NBFC it is there. Then investment company it is there. Then prompt corrective actions. What will be the impact if a PCA applied to a particular bank? Then payment banks and small finance, their relation, there have been questions. Then money market terms, all the instruments of money market. Then taxation, of course, would definitely. Then GDP, GNP, these are the basics. So based on the areas I have divided, telecom sector, of course, they remain in the news now. 5G is there. Global minimum tax is there because of the tax avoidance by the MNCs. Then coal and so related to resources also you have to, recently we can see the global coal crisis that we have been facing. So power and coal, what are the share of coal in the power sector and how they are distributed, Gondwana coal, and what are the types of coals we are, anthracite or Gondwana or primary coal that we are, the tertiary coal that we have. Then now during the COVID itself, there was some issue with the fiscal policy, how should manage the financing, whether you RBI should print money, do deficit financing, or government should borrow. Then GST shortfall was there, so they can ask question related. Now GST compensation says compensation has ended, so that question will be there. Then government security, the conceptual question. Then CBDC, e-rupee, now government is considering any electronic money, so that is Fed tampering has happening and it is affecting worldwide market. So I again fill the form and you will get the summary of all these topics covered in very nicely short form. That economy you can revise, let's say in 2 hours or 1 hour itself, you can be able to revise those topics and you will be very confident that if there are questions from these topics, you will be able to solve that. Then again we have some miscellaneous topic. Then Atmanirbhar Bharat, the tax cut affecting Prime Minister Relief Fund, PM Care Funds. So these things, there can be Ayushman, there can be some questions on exchange reserve has been declining. So some questions can be there also in these topics. Now security questions. So in security, in prelims related, you have to understand the security viewpoints, what are the measures generally they are taken. So it depends, export and import, from where which we are buying or selling. The reverse engineering, whether we are trying to develop our own defense mechanism, top defense dealers and importers that we you should be knowing. Missile programs is there, Agni, Prithvi and other. What are the recent development? Then recent amendment NIA UP, which gives more power to NIA to deal with the terrorism cases. So they can just ask about the changes made in the NIA Act or UAPA Act itself. Then climate change and security, how they are linked, and there can be general question on that. So please fill the form and you will get the summary of all these topics in there. The form is available in the top of the description of this video and you can fill this. Now environment, I was mentioning that economy, polity and environment, they are the most important. 60% of questions will be coming, and environment, you know that there will definitely around 20 questions, and if you perform badly in environment, then it will become difficult to clear the prelim. So environment is very important and you have to do well, and some definitely do well. Like for me, when I used to give the exam, I used to do at least 18 out of 20 questions. So that way I would always get in all my 6 attempt, I got around 130 marks, because I focus in beginning itself that environment you have to do well. So in environment, let's say there are basic questions, there will be applied question, and there will be current related questions. So most important, biodiversity, alpha, gamma, beta, delta, and then you have India's biodiversity, which are the animals, which place located, and you have to do it very scientifically, that I have done in covered in the Super 25 programs, and some of them will be shared with you also. Then forest report has come, so which state higher, lower percentage, all these things, forest related data, which type of forest, red sanders have remained due to Puspa. So they can ask a geography cum environmental questions on red sander, zero budget natural fund. This has also been in the news, so they can be asked here also. Then heat dome, how this heat dome has been created in the recent month, so how it affects the environment. Net zero producer forum, so they want to reduce the emissions by cutting the coal or fossil fuels. Then Bureau of Energy Efficiency, its job is to improve the energy efficiency. So it does labeling of the instruments like fan, tube lights, refrigerator and other things. So it keeps changing, it keeps innovating and adding the products. So that you are supposed to know. There was a global climate change summit in Glasgow. So what are the outcomes? What is the stock taking? What is the sustainable development mechanism? So all these keywords related to global climate change, you have to be very updated. So that you can find in the document that will share with you when you register, the link given in the description. Then National Park, Wildlife Sanctuary, Tiger Reserve. So these are very important mapping point of view, and they can just ask where they are located or what are their features. It's not like they will every time ask whether each river is passing through that sanctuary. No, they can ask where they are located, what are their significance, what are the environment, what are the wildlife living there. Last year itself there was related to Desert National Park or musk deer. So 2 questions expect from these things. Then reports and indices. There are many global organizations, they constantly repeating releasing the reports relevant to environment, so there can be a question. So that has been covered in the PDF. Then pollution related current affairs. So pollution is the basic question can be there, which kind of pollution from which source. And then there will create also many events that is happening along with the copper plants to coal plants, power plants to aluminum plant, that is creating the pollution issues. Then biogeochemical, is basics that you or anybody study, but it's better to understand those cycle, critical endangered only those which are in remain in news. Last year there are pangolin. So things that have been covered. Then climate change related, I've just discussed. Acts and policy, they are very important. They can ask relevant provisions, WPA, they will ask relevant provisions of EPA and GT. Then there is a NAJCA is there. Then there you have CAMPA Act is there. Then a Forest Act is there. That is very important. Then which all have been in brief, it has been covered. Then one of the most important act of the decade, that is Forest Dwellers Act 2006. What are their provisions? You have to understand them in the detail, and they can ask any provision out of the how many land is there that can be done, individual rights, community rights, forest right, minor produce, major produce. So all these things you have to do in detail because they are very important act. Then ecosystem biome, so they are the basics, greenhouse. So apart from the basics, you have to understand the applied aspect in acts and policies. Then international level, what are being done. Then one important thing is Pakke Declaration, in which Arunachal Pradesh government held a cabinet meeting in Pakwi Reserve, and they declared that we need to fight the climate change. So it is one of the unique declaration, unique aspect, and that can be asked. So environment, these topics we find very important, and we'll share with you once you fill the Google form given at the top of the description, and you will receive it, and you will able to revise your environment in, let's say, half an hour or 1 hour, because we have restricted to the basics and most important details that has been given. Now, social issues, now hate crime, ST against, SC against BA, then Northeastern against. So, what are the provisions in the act? Which act is related to hate crime, digital education issues? So, how you cover the problem of spamming and other things. So that is there, the new acts and amendment in IT Act, what has been changed, and Chinese apps have been banned. So Surrogacy Act 2000. So the how Surrogacy Act will come into effect. HDI, global hunger in both in global hunger index, our indices in falling, and HDI it has been more or less constant. So what are the points that are taken in these, along with how India is faring. So these two you have to cover. Then prohibition of child marriage, because government is trying to now increase the age of marriage from 18 to 21. So this act become very important, and the relevant provisions have been kept in the PDF that will share with you once you registered there in the Google form given in the description. Now science tech. In science tech, see, most of the questions are related to current affair itself. So we have restricted to current affair topics, and you will get in brief details in the relevant details, not everything, so that you get 100 page of notes in a science tech. So less than 5 pages I think it's there for science tech, and that you will cover the most important current affair related topics. That is very important. So antimicrobial resistance, you know, this is a problem India has been facing due to indiscriminate use of antibiotics in human beings and animals. Then electricity, lots of in the news, and the many state government has come with EV charging facilities and EV policies, and there are many kinds of electric vehicles that are being launched, and many of the initiatives have been taken. So it makes electric vehicles very important along with the battery technology. Then dark genome, there are many genomes which are outside the our gene, and those are being now studied by scientists, and that makes it very important because they are the responsible many of the diseases and issues that have been happening to humans. The biotech, use of CRISPR technology. Now biotech has been lots of in the news due to COVID, because biotech, either you make good use it vaccines and other thing, or you can use biotech to harm people also by creating monstrous viruses. Then assisted reproductive techniques. So there are many techniques which helps you to have babies through many of the uses, many of the techniques. Then space technology related, India has proposed mission and successful missions, not only India but world level also it can be asked, and they are being covered. Then emerging technology, 5G, AI, machine learning, they are the hot technology that all country wants to have their first hand, and they want to dominate in the world. China want to dominate in 5G and AI. So India also is testing its F5G, AI and machine learning. So definitely whatever the technological aspects that is related to these, they can be asked by UPSC, and you should be aware. And these are being covered in the PDF that you will find to shared with you once you registered in the Google link. Now dark matter, it is unknown dark matter or gravitational waves or God party. These are the things that have been undertaken research at the world level, and there are many of the breakthroughs that has come. So UPSC expect that you should be knowing. So these have been covered. Then hybrid immunity, that through vaccination. So type in vaccination is very important. Traditional type of vaccines, like when you have the dead virus is being attenuated virus is being used, or either recent type RNA technology, mRNA technology, rDNA technology. What is the use of recent time only first time we have been using mRNA based vaccines. So how these vaccines work? Now you have protein subunits vaccines. So in India, which kind of vaccines are being in the world level, which kind of vaccines are being, what are the advantage and disadvantage, which kind of disease they can tackle. So these things in the science tech, these are very important. Now nuclear technology, you know, nuclear means in news too many times because of the aspect related to it. So this is covered. Nobel Prize in science and economy and literature. So these things can be asked anytime. Deep ocean mission, blue economy. So that is India is planning to launch a vehicle into deep ocean mission, main vehicle. So this becomes important. Food fortification, we know that there we have a nutrition crisis that is going on. Many children are malnutrition. So government is trying all way to food fortification through biofortification, non-fortification, viral diseases. So all around research are going on. India has set up centers to study those viral diseases, especially those are spreading from the non-human waste or vector-borne, those kind of the coal-based hydrogen. So now hydrogen technology are gaining traction because India wants to shift to hydrogen economy. So you have three sources: coal-based, renewable sources, or many sources. So we have like abundance of coals, and many of the coals are unmineable. So that can be used for gain hydrogen. UVICA program for research, blockchain technology. So blockchain has not only related to the coin, that is the coin, or let's say one can use only for the hiding their money, but blockchain technology idea, distributed system as an idea with high protection that can be used in many area, banking, subsidy, and central bank is also trying to use in the many of the things. Then micro swimmers, Gaganyaan mission is an ambitious mission, and next year itself we are trying to launch a mission, and later on a manned mission itself. So science take these topics are the most important for UPSC, and you must at least cover them, and you will get in the summary form which are the relevant details, not unrelevant details in PDF, very short manner. If you fill the Google form that is available in the description, and we'll share with you immediately. Now, history and culture. See, in history and culture, UPSC never fails to ask too many questions. Last year, we had many questions from very easy, ancient, and medieval questions, like Indus Valley. In Indus Valley site become very important. So early Harappan, mature Harappan, you should understand which site is which related to them. What are their features? So that will cover. Then what are the geography of those sites from Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana? This is one of the largest civilization that we have in India. And what are the sites and where do you find what? And we are still getting some of the things. Recently, you know, this Aryan invasion theory has been discredited by DNA evidences. So what are those evidences? Which scientist was related to this, and what did you find? So all these things becomes very important. Sartukhai in Afghanistan, Harappa. So all these are in Mohenjo-daro, Chanudara. Now recently this Rakgari is becoming very important because that pushed the age of civilization by 2000 more years ago. Then southern portion Daimabad. So it is spread up to Maharashtra and north up to Afghanistan. So it's a very big area to cover and multiplicity of facts. So that becomes very important. Every year, 2 questions you can expect from this. And then Gupta and Maurya art and culture. They are the Gupta is one of the golden age of our ancient India. So what are the importance of them? What are the factors you find? What are the administrative and cultural features? Adi Shankaracharya ka Rudrasa. These are some of the terms that have been in the news. That Adi Shankaracharya, there was a statue dedicated to it. Then Kaktiya Rudraswara Mutla, Sun Temple in Konark, it has been in news. Architecture. So every year you can find 2 questions from architecture and from temple related to things. Dance, you can every year you can find 1 question on dance and music also. So these things are covered in very simplest manner, so that you will be able to cover, and it will be shared with you through the Google form that you will fill. Now religion, Buddhism, Jainism, every year you can find 1 or 2 questions. Literature, what are the literature, ancient literatures, because India has a rich diversity of literatures. Philosophy, Hinduism, Bhakti, Sufi, Sikhism. So there can be 1 questions. Medieval, you have like southern kingdoms that has gaining traction in UPSC, like Vijayanagar, Chola empires. So their administrative, their cultural developments, that becomes very important. Then administration of these most important kingdoms. There, what are the heads? What is their prime minister was called? What is their chief of military was called? What is their chief of revenue was called? Then Michelin Field Development Corporation, that has been remained in the news. So there can be a question on that. Then modern history, you have personality based. Earlier there was very simple question based on the chronology. Now UPSC is dissecting the syllabus of history. And in history, it is going not only chronologically, but it is going as sector wise also. So education development, socio-cultural development, what is the let's say development on police, what is the administration development, and so all these are being not tracked chronologically also, and personality based also, especially the regional personality also. So Naikar to SNDP movement, and Phule, and then Paika revolution. So many of the side movements that is not prominently covered in history, many of the personality which are not well so known, and there also their books. So every year you find some books related to personality or the freedom fighter. So these things are covered in the short notes that we will share with you once you fill the Google form available on the top of the description. So please go ahead and fill the on, you will immediately get it. Now geography, you have world geography and Indian geography. Geography, world geography, which is mostly related to concepts. So landform, technology, origin of the volcanism. So all these are basically NCERT based, and you can cover from the NCERT itself. If you have covered earlier, please go and revise, because geography is gaining traction again. Last year, before that, you have 4 to 5 questions. Last year itself we have up to 8 questions. So this year we are expecting more questions will come, up to 12 or 15 questions will come. Earlier also in geography there used to be up to 15 or 16 questions, and world geography you have very conceptual but very easy questions from the world geography, physical, either climate related terms, or you can say this in climate you have cyclone, comparison of both kind of cyclone, climatic regions, cloud type, seasonal this, right, rainfall related to things. So this kind of thing can be asked. Now Indian physical geography, see all those areas which impacts our economy. So that becomes very important, Indian physical geography. One is El Nino, La Nino, Anish, Indian Ocean Dipole, because that sets the rhythm of our Indian monsoon. So they becomes very important. UPSC expect you to understand the interplay of it. Let's say even what is the role of Tibetan plateau, then tropical cyclone and its condition. Tropical, every year you can see 2-3 cyclones coming into India and impacts in large way. So they will ask you. Last year itself there was a question, climatic regions in India and soil that decide the soil and vegetation, rock system. If you understand them properly, you will able to predict what are the minerals found in it, because Dharwad has most metals, or Gondwana has the coal, or sedimentary will have the marble or limestone, sandstone. So these things you have to understand. You have to link natural resources and minerals and rock system are linked. Then forest cover, forest type will also be decided by the climatic factors. Then agriculture, it's very important. One crop or 1 or 2 crop or agriculture related question will definitely come in each exam, and this year is wheat is very important. Even rice they can ask, because that's similar. Because of the Ukraine crisis, you have wheat import export getting affected, and price of our flour is getting high. Now mapping related questions are very important. 3-4 questions that will relate to map itself. Now river Panchnath, what are the Indus systems which meet with last year was question was there, which rivers is meeting at which place. Then Himalayan system, which river is meeting at which place. Then peninsular river or major rivers, what are right bank, left bank tributaries, they can covered in the NCERT itself. Some of the aspects are said given in the booklet that will be shared with you once you register them. Now to sort alignment of mountain, Eastern Ghat, Western Ghat, which are there, so all these should be in the tips of your fingers, because his geography there is not much scope to dig further, because they have to ask the easy question. Major cities in India, like once there was a question on the same latitude, which 2 cities are found. Then Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep Islands. So you have to understand, know the prominent islands there. State sharing international boundaries. So what are their geographical and administrative features? They are important. Plateau, this is one of the very important. Every year they will ask one plateau related question. Industrial location and ports. How interplay of this going on? How ports are becoming major centers for the industries. like petrochemicals industry or plastic industry or pharmaceuticals, they are related to import export, so they are getting located at the ports. So earlier industrial location was based on the Weber theory, now port are the becoming major sectors. Now world physical map, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, Mediterranean and Black Sea, they are very important. They can ask which are the islands north to south, east to west, rivers north to south, east to west, cities north to south, east to west, what are the circling cities, what are the circling countries of particular islands or particular sea or particular lakes, which are the found, what are the regions. So these questions are very well you need to understand, you have to memorize or you have to revise again in this time, and you will get once you share with us. Now this last, government schemes. See, in recent years some aspect of schemes related thing has reduced, but again they will ask 2-3 questions on the scheme definitely, and you have to understand the schemes by the objective. Niti Aayog reports, definitely if the recent years they have given the reports that has been covered. Then schemes on agriculture, vulnerable section, MSC, these are the sectors that are most affected in corona period, and so we are expecting a schemes that are the relief measures that will come. Then national education policy came in COVID period, and medias aspect has not yet been asked by UPSC. So definitely there can be a question, RBI reports and RBI schemes. So of course that is very important. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Samman Nidhi, how government is responding to the issues of farmers. Then seed funds and Startup India funds, that is to promote the startup. So that is important. Samitwa scheme also related to this. So these can be asked. These we have compiled in very few pages in PDF that you will share with you once you registered, and the link given in the description. So please go ahead and register for the link, and you will definitely get a mail from us sharing the PDFs and additional notes that will have, and you can revise things and appear in the exam and definitely do well. So I thank you all of you to watching this. Please stay connected with us, fill the Google form, and you will get the summary notes of all the topics, all the 100 topics that we cover. So I wish you all the best for the prelims. Utilize the next remaining 10-12 days best of your capacity, and focus only on those topics that are relevant for the exams, and stay confident. Thank you.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civilsdaily.